Question for you. Are there any surfers out in the audience? Well, okay, let me rephrase that. Is there anybody who learned how to surf? Yes, there are a lot of us. We can't all call ourselves surfers. There's a rite and a passage to do that. But there are many of us who have learned how to surf. When I was a little boy, late 70s, I was about, somewhere in this height, my older brother Dave, he liked to go scuba diving. And often what they do is they go scuba diving right off of the beach down in Huntington Beach. I said, I want to go too. And he said, okay, come to the beach with us. Hang out on the beach, and when we get back, we can go play in the water. So we went to the beach, and it was cloudy. It was cold and damp, and so I curled up on the beach on a towel under a blanket. I hung out. The sun came out, and eventually Dave and his buddies emerged from the water. So then it was great. It's an opportunity for me to play. So we all got into the water. I was playing. It was a nice, gentle day. There wasn't a whole lot of waves. And I was getting ready to get out of the water. So I turned around, and I was probably in this much water, not very deep. I turned around and looked at Dave. We made eye contact, and all of a sudden his eyes got like saucers. And I was tackled by a rogue wave. I was pummeled into the water. My face was dragging along the bottom of the shore. And I was trying to get up and stand up, and I couldn't. I felt the water pulling me back in. And I was being sucked back in, and I couldn't do anything. I was helpless, being dragged back into the water. And then all of a sudden, I feel these two arms lift me up. I get out of the water. I'm standing there in the water, sand still covering my face. And he's like, hey, buddy, let's get out of the water. I said, okay. He helped me wash the sand off my face, and then he took me on shore, and I took a break. Now, for many of us, that may have been the end of it, but not for me. I got my second wind, I got back out, and I played in the water. And today, the water, the ocean, is one of my favorite places to be on the shore. Sometimes life is like that. Sometimes we are hit by a rogue wave out of the blue, that wave of change. Have you ever experienced that? You weren't expecting it, but all of a sudden you feel like you were bowled over and being dragged along the bottom of the ocean. You couldn't breathe, you couldn't move. Sometimes change is like that. It may be a loss of a job, it may be a diagnosis, it may be an unexpected bill or a forgotten bill. It may be a sudden change in how things are being done. Who moved my cheese? Do you remember that book? My cheese was right here. It's no longer there. And all of a sudden there's this change, and we have to figure out how to adapt, and we've been bowled over. A lot of the times we don't want to face the change. A lot of the times we are trying to get back to the way things were. We're stuck in trying to live in our past when life in front of us has changed. And we've all experienced a dramatic rogue wave with the pandemic. And with the emergence of AI, you may have experienced a life that has changed. You may have experienced a change in your job or a different experience in life. What people tend to do is to react. Right? What's the first reaction? Woe is me. Look at all the sand in my face. We don't wash it off because that's our badge of honor, right? Woe is me. We're walking around covered in sand and beaten up, and that's how we react to it. We might react to it by getting out of the water and saying, let me tell you about what just happened here. This rogue wave hit me, and we start talking about the wave. Anybody relate to that? We talk about the sand going by your face. We talk about the bubbles that are swirling around. I couldn't believe, can you believe what happened to me? This is what happened. We get fixated on this wave, and that becomes our narrative. That becomes our story. The size of it, the strength of it, the experience of being tossed around, it makes quite a story. And we also talk about what must have caused the wave. It has to have been that speeding yacht 1,000 yards offshore. Global warming, our friends and neighbors. AI caused the rogue wave. Right? We look for the blame because this shouldn't happen to me. Or maybe we look at it as a message. It's time to get out of the water. Let's just get out. There are times when it appears that life hits us like a rogue wave. We all have those experiences in life. And when it does, our first inclination is to react to it. We tense up, we panic. We're trying to control the wave. We're trying to control the narrative. We're trying to control the story afterwards. We're trying to control other people, other situations. That inner resistance says to us, this shouldn't be happening. We blame the rogue wave, we blame the people around us, we blame the conditions in life, and then that becomes our narrative in life. That's how we start living life, is through the eyes of that rogue wave. Now, I remember my perspective as a child. I just got bowled over. Wow. Yep, everything's still here. I'm ready to go back in. Remember that perspective as a child when we didn't take on the story. We didn't have so much time to be thinking about what happened or why it happened, but we did learn some lessons. It's important to keep your awareness. It's important to look around. It's important to have self-awareness about where you are, what your experience is, and how you're holding yourself. When I remember that perspective as a child, and I look at it as just a wave, I realize the wave isn't the problem. Our inner resistance to what is the problem. Our reaction to the inner resistance within is the problem. Our inner resistance becomes the finger pointing, the anger and resentment, the scheming and manipulation. Our inner resistance becomes our experience of life after the wave. Because the more we resist, the more we get tossed around. So the invitation here isn't to stop the wave. It's not to believe I'm never going to have a wave in my life, because waves happen. So the invitation isn't to pretend the wave doesn't exist, isn't to try and stop the wave or manipulate the wave. The invitation is to discover who we are in the midst of the wave. In Unity, we teach that life doesn't happen to us, but rather divine life is expressing through us as us. When we look at it from that perspective, we can see there are waves in our life. How am I going to be in this wave? How am I going to show up? And that's the shift from that inner resistance to empowerment. From reacting to change to consciously responding from spiritual awareness. From panic to presence. And like Christine says, it takes practice to knowing that oneness within you, to knowing that spiritual awareness, to having that experience of that divine essence within you, to knowing that you have a bright light within you, to bringing that even when people are throwing tomatoes, even when people look at you and say, oh, you think you're the light? Let me tell you how you're not the light. We all have those file cabinets. You may not be able to control what's happening around you, but you can choose the consciousness that you bring to it. When I say the word empowerment, we go from resistance to empowerment. I'm not talking about being able to control the wave or being able to control life. Rather, it's how we learn to ride the wave, how we learn to ride life. And when you do, you realize that life isn't happening to you. Life, God, Spirit, allness, that flow is expressing through you. When I was a little kid, I never learned how to surf. But I did learn how to boogie board. I did learn how to body surf. There's nothing like being in that wave and feeling the energy and the power moving and flowing. You can sit there and get pummeled by it, or you can learn to express that divine consciousness. You can express your better self as kindness, as compassion, as spiritual strength, as holding your own sense of self-worth. And here's the practice. Are you ready? Take out your journal. If you don't have a journal, you can write it on the back of the prayer card, or you can take out your phone. This is the one time I'll let you take out your phone and take notes. Don't worry, I won't judge you and think you're playing unless the sound's on. We're going to ride. We're going to learn how to ride the wave. R. You ready? Are you ready? Step 1, R. Recognize. Recognize the wave. Recognize that something is happening. Name it without the story. Just name the facts. This is the experience that's happening. This is the change. This is the uncertainty. This is the fear arising. When you can name it without layering in the story, then it stops that unconscious reaction. When you can name it without bringing up all of the story, it stops the story. It stops the unconscious reaction. I, interrupt the reaction. Pause the automatic pattern. Because each of us has an automatic pattern when that rogue wave comes along. It could be fear, it could be control issues, it could be spiraling. Whatever that is, you need to first name it and then interrupt it. Take 3 slow breaths. Focus on your feet. These are all trauma first aid techniques. Wiggle your toes and feel the earth beneath you so that you can breathe and feel that breath flow in. Relax your shoulders. Move from fight, flight, freeze, please mode into presence. Step 3, D, drop into the truth. Shift from the appearance of what's happening around you to the spiritual truth. You are one with the allness of life, love, and wisdom. To enter the kingdom of heaven, you must become as that little child and say, okay, I'm ready to go back in. I've taken a breath, I've relaxed, I've practiced self-care, now I'm ready to go back to it. Drop into the truth of your being, that you have more spiritual strength in you that you know, because God is within you. You have more spiritual power than you know, because that power of the divine is flowing in through and as you. Drop into that truth. And then E, engage with life, love, and wisdom. Engage with life, love, and wisdom. Act from alignment. Act from knowing you're that expression of God and the divine. Act from that alignment. Allow that energy to flow in through and as you, and ask yourself, what is mine to do? With all of the change in our life and all of the things that we cannot control, what is mine to do? How will I show up in these moments? How will I bring my light, my wisdom, my peace? How will I be the voice of kindness and compassion? How will I uniquely express that into the world? What is mine to do right now? It's not how am I going to fix things. It's what is mine to do to be present. What presence am I going to bring into this situation? What consciousness, what mindset, what attitude am I going to bring right now? This prevents the overwhelm. It keeps us grounded, centered in the divine presence, and moving forward. We're learning to ride the wave, R-I-D-E. Recognize the wave, interrupt the reaction, drop into truth, and engage with life, love, and wisdom. There are times when we need to stand in our truth. And when we can stand in our truth with peace and love, kindness and compassion, we know we're doing it right. If you're standing in truth with anger, resentment, talking about people, manipulating people, trying to control people, if you're living it from that perspective, that's going to be your experience of life. You're in the wave and you're getting tossed around. To ride the wave, we need to recognize this is the pattern that I'm in, let it go and flow and move with the wave. And I believe that this is what the master teacher, Jesus the Christ, meant when he said, love God with all of your heart, all of your soul, all of your being. Love your neighbor as yourself. And love your enemies and pray for them who persecute you. This is an agape love. This is not an affectionate love. This is a love of harmony and peace and joy. If you can hold that consciousness for the them out there, if you can hold that consciousness for yourself, then you can move through the situation with ease and grace. You can flow with that wave of change. And you can be the change that the world so desperately needs. The change of love, peace, kindness, and compassion. I never learned to surf, but when I'm on the wave, on a boogie board or floating through the wave, or when I'm standing on the beach watching it, I experience the flow of life. I experience the joy of the power of spirit that moves through me. I experience the oneness of life. The wisdom to look around for the rogue waves that are there and to know when it's time to come in. That's what this practice is all about. The waves of change are here, and they're coming faster and faster. So the more we are aware of our own presence, the more we are able to move and live and have our being in them. Let's move to our affirmation. Our affirmation, I'm going to read it and then invite you to affirm it with me. Centered in the presence within me, I ride the wave of life with faith, wisdom, and love. So centered in the presence, you'll notice presence has a capital P. Presence, centered in God, centered in spirit, centered in your divine nature. Whatever words you want to use, center yourself in that. If love is flowing from you, you know you're doing it right. If you're sensing resentment or frustration, go back to the first step. Recognize it. Recognize the pattern. Oh, I'm stuck on my wave. Go into the second step. Interrupt it. Interrupt the reaction that I'm having and choose and drop into a deeper truth and then express it and engage it with life, love, and wisdom. That's what the presence is within us. I ride the wave of life with faith, love, and wisdom. Would you affirm this with me together? Centered in the presence within, I ride the wave of life with faith, love, and love. And love. I messed it up. I have to do it again. Let's do it again. Together, centered in the presence within me, I ride the wave of life with faith, wisdom, and love. And so it is. Let's take this into our time of meditation and affirmative prayer.